What is up, people? I am live. This is Keisha Martin. I'm an energy alignment specialist, and I've been on my mission to be able to help as many people break past their inner noise, and someone who has walked through it myself, I understand the journey, and I want to be able to come here and share with you the things that has helped me, things that I've gone through, and hopefully be able to shed light on and be able to help motivate you with some things. I hope, you know what? I forgot to put my mic on. Let me see if I can do this. I'd hate to break up the live for that, but let's see. That one's going on. So I'm not going to do this all perfect because life isn't perfect. Oh, it's not charged anyway. All right, so we won't do it that way. No problem. So I was watching some things this weekend because I realized, like, when you're learning to trust the process, how things can be really difficult. And you can place yourself in a space where you start overthinking and your mind is just wondering, should I do it this way? Should I do it that way? And what exactly is God calling you to do? Especially when you feel spiritually that you want to help more people, you want to be able to reach things, reach people, but also reach, when I say things, uh, some of you may be battling in regards to whether it's material wealth or just reach a place in your life where you feel as though that you're successful. And I can relate to all of it, and being a person that has received information, received guidance, heard hear messages, heard scriptures. Uh, Part of my journey, I figured let me come back into that and learning how to regain faith, because in a world of coming from like the Western world where we learn to pray and we do everything outside of ourselves and then moving towards the inner part where you start to meditate and connect, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle as a human because you have all of these experiences that has pulled you into a place of unforgiveness, lack, and dealing with the scarcity of what you may feel is available to you at that time. And also shame, like the worthiness and not feeling empowered enough to be able to move forward because of these past things. Now, all of these elements can create a space where it's hard to trust the process because now we start to self doubt and put things or boundaries between you and moving forward. And this weekend, I took some time and I went back to scripture and I went back just to watch certain aspects of like what Christ has gone through. And I know there's phases in the healing process where you, as you start to awaken, you begin to think, okay, well, what exactly has happened, and in that process, there's anger that may come about because you're like, oh, wait a second, we've been lied to. Why didn't they tell us all these things? Why did they have us believe just this one thing? And then two, there's anger because you may be upset with the level of um, evil or negativity that has taken place that has held everybody back, including ourselves. So there, and then from there, moving out of these stages so that way you can, move out of the ego, move out of desires, move out of all of these negative hardships that has actually been, put purposefully here to challenge your spirit to evolve into trusting the process, And of course, they would be mowing the lawn at this time when they decide to give up. Why wouldn't I? Why would they not? um, so when we are in this space and you're trying to understand and trying to study to find who you are, what you want for the betterment, and you're hearing that all the answers are inside of you, and you hear that you're supposed to go within and trust the process and do these things, but you have fear holding you back from all of your experiences, I completely understand how it's difficult to know what is right for you to do. What is right for you to trust? How can you have a discernment on things? And for the longest, I'm so glad I went back and I rewatched like the things that I watched and went back and picked up the Bible and restudied scripture because for the longest I was upset. I was upset that what they had done to Christ, Yeshua. I was like, why did they kill him? You know, and I understand that he knew that it would happen. I know that it was prophesied that this is what would take place, and he was aware that he would have somebody backstab him, and and sell him out. You know what I mean? But for the longest, I was upset about, well, why they kill him? Because then, what is it about what they did to him? Why would they do that? Like they seen so many miracles, they seen so many things. They watched him heal. They watched him this. They watched him that. They have their gods. They're doing all these things, but yet they still continued. You know, and they were expecting him to come off of something great to happen, just like with Moses with the staff and things like that. And rewatching some things and just rereading some things, I had a greater understanding for it. And I just started crying and I had a huge respect for what I saw in hindsight. And sometimes it's always good to revisit some things in your studies so that way you just never know what outlook you would have because the experiences that you encounter every single day, they do shape you. And reviewing something again with a second set of eyes, maybe fourth or fifth time, you will see something different with each growth. So, what I noticed was that this time I was like, you know what? This is what he did was so great. Like it helped me heal the anger part, right? Because when you deal with backstabbing in real life, right? When you have somebody you trust, you love them, you think that they're your friend, you think that they're your family member, and that there's unconditional love, and they got your back and they're supporting you, and then later on you see that they're not really supporting you, they're not really, helping you out, they're not. Matter of fact, they're talking bad about you. They're talking trash every time you turn your neck. Um, you see that people are judging you. You start to grow in enlightenment where you can be in tune with what people's energies are, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they're doing. Not that you're like picking up, well, you can pick up on a lot of things. And, or you could just read the room and see that this person or these people don't have your back. It's easy to say, bump it, I'm not doing this anymore. Or change your mind to how open you are to meeting new people. Change your mind to how open you are with those particular people, or just shift harden your heart where you're not allowing yourself to continue to be yourself. Continue to be open, fun, loving, and nice to even meeting a new stranger. And we see it especially as we get older and older. It's like you can go. I remember one year I took the kids to a theme park, and as I was sitting there, everyone at the certain age group, like around my age on up, everybody's like one woman here, one man there, one woman there, like 10 different parents, adults, just sitting by themselves at individual tables. And I was like, isn't that interesting? There's 10 of us sitting here. When I look up and make eye contact with them, some would turn their head or go back onto their phone. And I understand that people are busy, but to not even want to have a conversation, not even say hi. And then I look over to the left and you see all the teenagers and all the younger kids like huddled in their circles and running up to new kids or teenagers and they're engaging. But then the hardness of experience has adults locking themselves away and not wanting to connect with another adult. So, with that being said, you see this with Christ, and you're like, all right, Christ went through everybody hating him. They seen the miracles. They seen the things that he was able to perform. They've heard his wisdom. He continually spoke of levels of empowerment to teach the person that you have these things within you and to go within. And he's showing you all of these gifts and knowledge, and everyone's like self-doubting and not believing in themselves. And yet they still decided, we're going to crucify you. We're going to put you up on this cross and we're going to see if you can get off. And as they're doing that, you're like, okay. So I looked at it with rage at one point for the longest, like, you know what? Like, why would they still kill him? And even though that was okay, what changed for me rewatching or rereading things this weekend was the fact that with all the hatred, all the people that didn't like him, all the backstabbing, everything, all the non believers, everyone, all the lack of support, which is things that we deal with every single day, how he still said, I'm going to have faith that there is a life after this because he already knew. I'm going to have faith that what I do, no matter how much physical pain I'm going to endure, I'm going to do what I came here to do. And I know it's because they don't understand. And that just really, really, really reached me because that's some level of power, some level of discipline, some level and a huge level of unconditional love to be able to love people that are killers, rapists, just evil, as well as people that are liars, betrayers. And he's had his predecessors before him, and for him to ascend and move forward, it just gave me a huge example of trusting the process. Okay, it really allowed me to see through different lens how different this he was, and how his teachings could help other people believe in themselves more, and allowing yourself to go inward and facing the pains, facing the problem, the things that have hurt you, so that way you can improve the better relationships. These are things I haven't spoken about on here or anywhere really because I just had always decided I'm not going to get into that part. And maybe the anger part was actually holding me up. However, this is actually how I started my process. Like when I first started journaling, a friend of mine, Wise Shabazz, I was going through a big emotional thing. I was going through my divorce, and he was like, "Why don't you meditate?" And he taught me about meditation, and then he taught me about journaling, and it gave me a profound outlet to be able to work through these things. I was already on a deep spiritual journey because I was receiving, I was hearing like scripture, and I was already having experiences that were unexplained, and it created a lot of confusion for me. And I know that there's somebody out there, or a lot of people out there, that's maybe dealing with the same thing. Um, I know right now there's a huge awakening going on right now. A lot of people are opening up. They're becoming more in tune with their bodies. They're meditating. They're learning to have more positive vibes. But then there's a disconnect in regards to how deep this goes. And there's also pain points. There's certain pain points where when you hit that, you're you're changing from dealing with the actual solution. Whether you're in therapy dealing with this, talking with your friends about it. And I realized that this pain point is what creates a lot of vices, a lot of addictions into um, whether it's alcohol, smoking, shopping, gambling, whatever the case may be. And it's a way of avoiding, numbing the self from actually dealing with the actual real root of the problem. Now, when you're stepping back into faith, and if faith is too big of a jump right now, I get it. You don't have to do that part yet. But it's about learning how to, and I say that because I know there's church hurt. I know when you've been going, when you've endured certain levels of brutality in life, it may be hard to have faith in this a God, a creator, the universe. And right now, you may just only be focused on yourself. But I'm speaking to those that are really trying to find the help and the answers so that way they can motivate themselves to move forward in the space of life that they want. And when you don't believe in yourself, because so many things have happened, or you don't believe in yourself because you feel like you need these extra things to take to like whether you need more education, you need a degree, you need a better camera, better lighting, better friends, whatever the case may be. When you start to believe in all of those things, it's easy to shrink back, dim your light, and not show up in the way that you are and being who you are instead. And when you have been called, when God has called on you to do something, and you are denying it. Like for the longest, I was telling people, I was like, listen, I did not sign up for a lot of the gifts that I have. I believe a lot of people have these gifts. And but what how my journey started, it started through dreams. It started through receiving scripture. I started receiving a lot of messages that I didn't understand. And actually, that journal behind me, that's one of them. But it started, that's how my path started. And to be able to break past the head chatter. Just like you, I was born here too, and I had the head chatter. And to release the levels of shame, or to release the levels of imposter syndromes and things like that, it took a lot of work. And some of the things I didn't even know was a thing. But as I was going through some of the scriptures yesterday too, and I'm bringing it back to that, um, there were certain points, and I took notes on it. Most of my stuff is usually channeled, but I did have to take some notes yesterday. They were they were mentioning how that the challenges that we face actually happen in this order, and I can relate. I was trying to fine tune like where I'm at, because after really thinking about his ascension, and I know there were many other ascended masters and people that have come as teachers to help mankind move forward, right? And with this, I was like, it just really, it was like a light bulb, and a healing took place. Matter of fact, it was such a healing just from reading the scripture. I've been dealing with, like, I went to the doctor not too long ago, and because I had started snoring and I didn't figure out. I was like, why am I snoring? I never like did that before. So long story short, I found out they said I had a bad ear and sinus thing. I didn't have any issues like that, but it started like this cough, and this cough has been going. Like there's times I think I did a live last week, and I just could not stop coughing. And if people called me on the phone, I could not stop coughing. It was like difficult to even have conversations with people, and they're like, "You're still coughing? It's been like weeks." So, long story short, I'm reading the scripture, I'm watching the shows, and as I'm having as it's reaching me, and I'm starting to like cry and have my shedding, I did notice one thing. Just from reading the scripture, the power in those words, I found my heart space getting lighter, my crown getting lighter, and I noticed that the coughing diminished. It didn't go away fully, but it went down far less than where I was. And I was like, wow, the power in accepting, the power in releasing, and the power in really moving in a way that you are accepting your path. And that's what prompted me to come on. And one, I can actually talk again. And two, it's what prompted me to say, okay, we this needs to be shared because I don't know who is going through something and why they what level they may be at. So when I was reading, some of the things that had came back was there were different challenges and levels that we have to be able to go through. And one of the phases was darkness, and this is where the idea of truth scares people, and the fear locks them into a certain belief that's terrifying. And that's where I was when this whole thing started. I remember when I first started hearing messages, I'm like, what is this? When I had these wild dreams, I remember what that was. What is this? I mean, I know there's going to be people that pop on live, pop onto this, and they're like, I don't want to hear about that. It's scary. They probably think, there's times when I read people, and I'm like, oh my god, they think I cut like a chicken neck and drink the blood. What is wrong with people? You know me. Like, why would you think that? But anyway, I digress. But these are the type of things that people may think because of the fear of knowing. And this was actually placed on us in a way where it's to purposefully block you, and until you start to work through it, because there are a lot of folks out here that are awakened. But if you think about it, and they're out here and they're promoting a lot of things, some in very good interest where they want to help people. But there is a line that says, study to shew thyself. And I go back to the Bible a lot because that was the scripture that I read. Those were the scriptures that would come to me. I'm not a person that memorized. As you can hear how I speak, you see me have to pause to think. But there is I would receive scriptures every single day for like months, and they would actually be in the Bible, and I would be like, "Wow, where's this coming from? Who on earth is telling me this?" I remember one morning, it happened to be a Sunday. At the time, I wasn't going to church. I was that person that thinks that, okay, I wasn't going when everything was good, so why am I going to go now when it's bad? And I had paused going because I wanted to understand from my perspective. I didn't want to hear another person's interpretation. I wanted to be able to understand things for myself, right? So in this time, I'm getting all these scriptures, and I'm like, where are they coming from? How am I hearing this? And one morning, it happened to be a Sunday, I received 5 scriptures back to back. And I was like, okay, it's Sunday. You know what? I'm going to go. Bump whatever I have in my head, whatever story or narrative I have in my mind, I'm going to go today and I'm going to ask Pastor. I get to church, and when I get there, Pastor goes over the same 5 verses in the same exact order that I had received. I didn't bother to talk to him again. I just went home and I started to study and I started to read and understand different religions. I started to see different masters. I remember one time I was standing right here in this room and I was doing like some yoga, and I saw this blue man standing next to me, and it was Krishna. You know, I didn't know who the blue man was. I had to Google blue man, and that's when I found him. So so it just brought me more questions and more questions. So I've been on this road of discernment for about oh 26 years. Yeah, about 26 years. It was a personal practice of my own, and it's what started my journey. And after further awakening, that's how I evolved to talking about relationships and helping people the way I'm helping them now. This is how I got into energy alignment. I would have different people from different churches telling me I'm a healer. I would have different people that I didn't even know, complete strangers walking up to me, telling me that they see this about me. And here we are. So the darkness can bind you because in those days I was really like, no, I'm scared. Like if I couldn't drive past the cemetery. I couldn't go near a funeral home. I couldn't do any of it, and because I would be terrified about all of that stuff. You wouldn't catch me watching a horror film. I didn't want to embrace any of that stuff. I was fine with reading it, reading the Bible, trying to understand the word. And then when I went through my studies, trying to understand that, which brought me into learning how to, disconnect and facing my fears. We hear, to face your fears, and you hear Nike say, just do it anyway. And these are the things that will help you allow yourself to trust the process. A lot of the books that are written are based from these scriptures, are based from like the biblical senses. And it's the root of our spirit to allow ourselves to be able to, really get connected with the divine. Because when we're doing the work, and the work isn't just like saying you went to church, saying you did a good deed for the day, saying that you actually went to your job. It's actually, checking yourself from the neck up and working through those hard things so you can actually get to the next thing. And it helps you begin to trust the process more, and helps you to move into allowing, so you can actually receive what is best for you and do what is in your purpose. It allows you to find your purpose. And it is scary. And when you're in that darkness phase will keep you locked away. It'll keep you living in fear. It'll keep you on a program that you're stuck into your karmic patterns, and where you won't evolve to where you really want to be. To face that darkness and to open up to get to the light, that's one of the first things you have to do to be able to start trusting the process. Because the fear is a lie, and the more you trust the fear, the more you'll hold yourself back. That's when you'll feel the anxiety. That's when you'll have the self-doubt. You'll have your thoughts telling you all these negative things about yourself. You'll not trust people. You'll keep yourself alienated like the ladies in the park, and you won't move and connect with the right people. You'll allow that one person that hurts you to keep you from having the love of your life, from having the best friends that you like, a good inner circle, or people in your life that will support you. Sometimes your family and your friends won't get it. Like, look at what Christ endured. He did not have people that was in his corner. Even, matter of fact, in his 12 disciples, or in his tight corner, he had two people betray him. So there's nothing new under the sun. And allowing ourselves to feel like, okay, I'm defeated, and believe in the things, it's a sign of how much in the darkness you are, you know and to emerge from it, like to come out of it like a moth is pushing or emerging from a chrysalis, is the strength that you need to endure, just like to evolve, to expand your lungs, to be able to breathe properly, to open up your wings, to build the muscles. These are all steps that every creature, every living thing on this planet has to go through in regards to learning to trust the process, and learning to allow and move past that fear. Because your calling is so great, and you might be evolving it in your mind like, I have to do this huge big thing. But sometimes our calling is just talking to somebody, a complete stranger, maybe giving them a compliment, and being who we are. Like, we just sometimes can overthink how we're supposed to be, because we're doing a comparison between someone else. And that's actually another thing. Let me write it. I have written that down too. The comparison is like one of the last phases, sloth, where you have the spiritual inertia, and you try to avoid difficult work. And how you may avoid the difficult work is thinking of, well, I don't have XYZ, so I can't start. I have all these flaws, so who's going to listen to me? I have da 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 da. And when you have all of these limiting beliefs, then it will keep you moving in that hamster wheel for a very, very, very long time. And to get out of that sloth phase and to move out of the darkness, moving out of the fear, and learning to trust the process is such an important role, but it's also the most difficult, because when you have a calling and you know that there's something inside you that's saying there's something more for me, I don't know what it is. I have these things that I'm ready to do, and I want to be able to connect. I want to be able to move in a way that I feel happy, I feel good. Maybe you're already very successful, but inside there's just something like pulling you away from joy. That inner joy is what will really fulfill you and make you want to continue to move in a way that it's effortless. When we lose that joy, it's because we have the fears, and maybe it's a past experience. One of the gifts that I share is being able to connect with a person so intuitively that I'm able to help find where that person has an energetic block, where the block is stopping them from moving forward. Maybe it's starting their own business or connecting in love. Connecting in love is definitely my specialty, in being able to see where the blocks are keeping you from feeling that inner joy, feeling that love again. Maybe something happened in the past and caused you to not trust someone anymore. So when I can tap into that and connect on those deeper levels with the person, now we can work through the challenges that are here, the challenges that are keeping you from being your authentic self, the challenges that are keeping you from knowing your purpose, knowing your calling, and being able to feel that you are worthy enough to walk through it. Because there are certain things that we come into this life with, whether it's shame, guilt. I'm going to go through my notes again. I told you I don't have like the best memory. So it's like whether it's shame, guilt, so many things going on here. So then it's you, whether shame or guilt, I'm going to repeat that again. I'm sorry. But whether it's any of those, right, it shows how much trauma we've carried from our ancestors, from our parents, their parents, and parents' parents. And these things carry through our DNA, through the epigenetics of our DNA, has a way of locking us into a mindset that prohibits us from moving forward in the type of life that we're really looking for. And to be able to break past that and to be able to trust it to your tap into the energy and feeling where things aren't aligning up for you. Why you feel a disconnect. And it's often something that maybe you might have thought you already worked out. A lot of times when I start working with a person, I start to pick up on where, who, what experience created this whole problem. And they're like, I already worked through that. I thought I was over it. And then we go in a little deeper and they're like, there's something else. Oh, I didn't know I could see my chat here. Hold on a second. Hey, Infinite Power, how are you? I don't know if you're on live or when you wrote this. Yes, I can see you too. Thank you for coming on. Let me know if you're still here. Because I like to talk to people, so it's good if someone's here. Matt, hey. No, I can't see you. How you doing, Matt? How was your weekend? I like the name Infinite Power. Sorry. All right. Yeah, so I forgot where I left off. Help me, Matt. So when you try to overcome, all right, now I remember where I left off. Got it. I have this stupid app on here. Let me move it off. Um, where was I at? My weekend was good. I had started this video sharing about what I did over the weekend. This weekend I actually took some time to go into. I went back to scripture. I've been on it for a couple weeks, but this time I like really went in, and how I rewatched some things with about Christ, and I actually had a whole like awakening. It actually broke. It actually had me break through an anger that I was carrying around his crucifixion, that they did that to him after everything they seen. And what I was sharing here on this video is how it actually kind of stopped me for a minute with some things that I want to do, because I'm like, he did all that work. They seen all of these things. He shared all of his light, and when they're done, they still killed him. So I was kind of mad about that for a very long time. And I'm sharing about one of the things that I read about, and how the breakthrough was in regards to knowing your purpose and calling, is the darkness, and breaking out of that darkness, breaking out of the fear, breaking out through these things to be able to evolve into the light. And what I did learn over the weekend when I saw this was how he really was so powerful in a way that, he already seen the other side, what happens on the other side of ascension. And he's seen what happens here, and he understands everybody's pain. He was lied to, people they were unsupported, they did backstab him, sold him out. And he still decided to allow himself to go through that physical level of endurance of being hung up on there and killed, um, to be the last sacrifice. So it actually brought me to tears, Matt. And I was like, wow, that is powerful. I don't know. And it just said, you know what? It just opened me up to say, let me start talking more about things. So that was my weekend. Long story short. And in that profound way, like right now, I wanted to just share with anybody about trusting in their purpose, trusting in what it is that they are being called to do, and moving past the fear, learning how to trust the process. So that was what I did. I'm actually using my streaming app this time versus the YouTube app. Excuse me. Um, but one of the things I was sharing too is, I don't know how you can add somebody on here. I don't know if you're busy though. Oh, I can add a guest. So if you wanted to come up, let me know. But one of the gifts which you're aware of is knowing how to sense what a person's going through, where it came from, and being able to do the work energetically to clear that. And I feel as though that's a lot of the things that he was doing. I felt that he learned alchemy, and in that process, what seemed like magic back then, it was a way of healing. And believe we all have the power to self heal. But when you come to someone like ourselves, like myself, it's able to have them facilitate this healing to help them move through things faster that they normally couldn't do on their own. You know what I mean? So I'm going to move this on this. And moving through those things, I want to go back into the topics, because I don't see you typing right now. Um, okay, so I mentioned that in the beginning, there are some challenges that we have to go through. And where I'm getting this from actually is from like the lost texts of the lost gospel of Mary, after Christ had evolved and come back. And it actually resonates with me because I feel that we all go through these levels of moving and expanding into the next level. When you can't expand into the next level, it kind of it's tying into the fear, it's tying into the desires, like our attachment to things, like the things that you may be attached to materially. You may say, well, what if I can't um, pay for this or pay for that? How, and then we're worried about how we can move forward. I'm gonna move. We're worried about our inner desires and our attachment to the house, or attachment to what people are going to think, or attachment to actual things. And those attachments, which is the second part, desire, can actually hold us back, because these things into the material world and trying to be here, it actually brings me back to another scripture where it says, one man can't serve two masters. He will learn to love one and despise the other. So if you're trying to expand here and do everything for finances, you're doing it for egotistical gain, you're doing it so that you can have fame, you can do it for all of these things, and you're not having the success that you want, then you have to go back to the root. And this is the second part, like after you move out of the darkness, is moving into the desire. How do you start to detach from the things and release yourself from the distractions? In relationships, it's easy to get distracted. Whether your attachment is, like, if you've been abandoned, it's easy to have a codependent relationship where you want to always have this person with you, or dependent, and there's some level of trauma bonding and things that have occurred. So to let go of the person, um, and you finally release them, and now you're single again, when you've been single for a while, you may notice your distraction may come in different forms. Maybe it's you continue to attract the same type of person, or and then you're like, why do I keep attracting these lonely men, or these men that need help, or blah 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 blah, and so they come in as distraction, and they're actually pulling you from your actual purpose. And every time you start to get close to that breaking point, another distraction comes. And this distraction not only may come in the form of another person, but it may come in the form of the things that you are attached to. So whether it's, shopping, or gambling, smoking, um, going on trips all the time. Maybe you see a new deal, and all of a sudden you feel like this need, I have to do this because I'm going to have FOMO, and the FOMO kicks in, the whole fear of missing out on something, and now you are just locked into that, and you miss that one breaking point that would have actually moved the needle from here to there. So identifying these things and knowing when things are coming in as an illusion, when things are coming in as a distraction, when it's a fear item, are parts of your spiritual growth. It's part of you evolving, and into tapping into your purpose, and being patient with yourself, because a lot of times you can see what the other person is doing, and then start to lose sight of where you are, and try to jump ship and start to do something more than where you're ready. Now, Christ, he took like what, 18 years or so years to evolve to what he was doing, to the point that he felt he was worthy enough to start teaching, or he was ready enough to start teaching it. But yet we have folks out here now just hopping off and wanting to go above where they are with teaching. Now, I know I'm telling you to trust the process. I know I'm telling you to allow. And I also wrote down into stepping into faith. At the same time, you want to have a level of wisdom and knowledge where you are operating in a level of integrity. Because if we start to do it in the way where you're attached to the material wealth, you're attached to the fame, you're attached to the success thing, and but yet you're noticing there's a disconnect with the income, you have to then ask yourself, what part of this attachment to these things, um, is your level of desire? Is this your big challenge for you to move forward? Are you trusting the process with taking the patience and time to learn? Are you taking the patience and time to work through your inner pains, to let go of things to try and to attract the right relationships? Are you taking the time to move through the pain points that you have to allow yourself to step fully into your purpose? That is where we are, and allowing yourself the grace in moving through those things. Okay. Um, how do I hide this? I'm gonna hide this. It's a little distracting. There we go. Okay. So when you start to evolve into the as you're evolving into your purpose and trusting the process. It's not to discourage you from doing what you love, but taking time to have the strategy with it. And maybe just saying, well, this is what I've learned so far. Let me share it from this point of view. Let me do it from this point and do from there. And not coming from a fear point. And I hope I'm not confusing you, because at one point I was telling you, to be able to move forward and break past things. But at the same time, I want you to identify the fear factors. I want you to identify the pain points, so that way you can be able to tap in, um, through the divinity, inside of you, to connect into, to break past the fear energy, and to be able to start trusting and aligning in a way that things are authentic for you. I hope that really, really, really makes sense for you. Um, so if you're interested in a session with me, I do work one to one. I don't know how much longer I will be doing that. I also have a course called Emerge. Now, Emerge will walk you through. If you feel like you've been wrestling with things and you're having a hard time, and this is like a personal relationship with yourself, of observation of things that you notice, it has helped people break past the noise. Uh, I never like calling it self love, because no one wants to think they don't love themselves, but it really is a powerful program that it's a must have for you to clear through the stuff. I shared my spiritual journey with you because I found being connected back to myself, letting go of the fear, breaking past, moving past the darkness, moving past my desires, and stop and letting go of any comparisons was one of the hardest obstacles, that I had to go through, and that I've seen my clients go through. And I was able to curate something that I know it will help you, whether through the meditations. I have a powerful framework that will guide you on how to make all these things connect together without dipping into the religion, but actually moving yourself spiritually from point A to point B. Okay, I'm going to drop the link in here below, and definitely click on that so you can learn more about the program and sign up for yourself, because once you start to expand past the fears, breaking past the darkness, breaking past those negative experiences that are keeping you stuck, you'll be surprised how many doors begin to unlock for you. All right. So this is Keisha Martin. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in my next video. I plan to come on daily for the next couple of weeks. So I will see you again tomorrow, on a new topic.